Hello and welcome to my F1 24 driver career mode, here today for part 33 for the Qatar Grand Prix, a second sprint weekend of the season as well, coming off the back of a sprint weekend last time out in Brazil. But we come into sprint qualifying now under the lights of Logan Sargeant, and our first run good enough for P10. Now as we skip on to the end of qualifying, we round the final corner, we have a big snap of oversteer. We're not going to improve, but we're going to stay
Off
P10.
the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Perez, Sainz, Norris, Stroll, Hamilton, Brown, Albon, Tsunoda, Ocon, Gasly, Russell, Joe, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Bottas and Logan Sargeant. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We will soon find out.
So here we go then for the final sprint race of the season. It's a very long hard of the lights, but we are underway. It's a good start by that Ferrari. We've got an okay start as well, as now we get closer towards turn 1. We're going to go to the outside, try and get the traction. We've found some great traction around the outside. We're alongside the McLaren. We've got the Ferrari as well around the outside. We've gained about 3 or 4 positions there on the opening couple of corners. It's a great start for us, as the Ferrari and the McLaren behind are going wheel to wheel. So is the Red Bull and the Mercedes in front of us. We're past the Red Bull. We've nearly hit the back of the Mercedes. We're off the track as well now. Put a wheel into the gravel, and Perez, it is in the Red Bull, has got us back, but only briefly, as we get back down the inside of him and retake that position. Then from P10 we're up into P6 on the opening lap, just behind Carlos Sainz. It's a very long run down towards turn 1. We're going to use the battery. We're getting closer and closer to the back of the Mercedes. We're going to go to the outside and go sailing around the outside of the Mercedes. There's contact in the meantime, tyre to side pod. Does he have some front wing damage? Does the Mercedes? But we're through and into the top 5 ahead of Carlos Sainz. Lap 2 now, at the end of lap 2 onto lap 3. There's a bit of a train behind us. We were struggling to break the DRS. Sainz has got us back as we try and hold it to the outside. Perez has a little look up the inside, but he's not close enough to get the job done. And now this further back is Pierre Gasly coming through. He's down in P15 and he's pulling over to retire from the Qatar sprint. So it's gone horribly wrong for him. He always seems to retire every weekend, but Gasly's day is over. He's out of the Grand Prix. He's driven a long way off the track to actually find somewhere to park up, and on the same lap, more reliability issues as Valtteri Bottas is out of the sprint as well. Just a couple of corners from each other, 2 cars have been eliminated from the race. So we're down to 18. Sainz is gone. Perez now has got us. We're going to try and keep it pinned around the outside of the Red Bull. We have the inside line now for turn 2, and we keep Perez behind for now at least. As we come on now to the end of lap 7, the start of lap 8, Perez is at the inside of us by a long way. And now we cut back into the slipstream. The McLaren tries to get to our inside. We try and hold it around the outside of Perez, but Perez is through. He's got us. We just about hold off the McLaren as well, but Perez is through. But up front, Max Verstappen, now 5-time champion of the world, gets his first win as a 5-time champion of the world in the sprint race. He wins the Qatar sprint. Charles Leclerc comes home for P2. and we are going to come home for P7 and 2 solid points. So that's been then the sprint race won by Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc, who did the double in the sprint races last time out in Brazil, comes home for P2, and Oscar Piastri P3. Our championship rival Fernando Alonso P4. P7 means we limit the damage in our championship fight with him. It was Lando Norris who got the last points. Down at the back then, the two retirements on the same lap of the race, Bottas and Pierre Gasly, and it was Nico Hülkenberg the last of the finishers today. So that's been the sprint. Let's go to the actual race itself. As we come into qualifying for the race, we come up to the line, we cross it, and that is good enough for P5. We went for it again, the end of qualifying. Unfortunately, we misjudged the gap to Ricciardo and spent most of the lap in his gearbox, but have still managed to find nearly 6/10, and we're going to start P6.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Perez, Hamilton, Brown, Norris, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, Ocon, Verstappen, Hülkenberg, Joe, Albon, Sargeant, Stroll, Ricciardo, Gasly, and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. As the cars come back to the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can, and they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
So here we go then, the 5 red lights come on for the Qatar Grand Prix. And we're racing in Qatar. We haven't got the best of starts. We've been beaten off the line by the McLaren. We tried the outside in the sprint, but going for the inside in the race. We've gained a couple of positions there. The Ferrari and the Red Bull are side by side. That is Lewis Hamilton. As now the Ferrari pushes Perez wide. And we're just going to walk straight through that door that is left open. Now, can we find a way past the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton? We're getting closer and closer to him, but we couldn't quite find a way past the Ferrari. Oscar Piastri leads, and it's a Ferrari 2-3. Can they say that? Lewis Hamilton has not had the greatest of seasons in his first season at Ferrari. But we're going to get closer and closer to him. Can we get on the podium? We're going to go to the inside, go to the outside, and go all the way around the outside. Can we get the traction? There's contact again, but we've ghosted again, like we did with Hülkenberg in Brazil. And I don't really understand why the game keeps doing this. Ghosted is not turned on, but it keeps doing it. But it saved us there. Hamilton gets us back, and Lando now trying to get us round the outside. Can he get both of us? We forced Lando wide. He's lost out to the Red Bull of Sergio Perez, but we've lost out to Lewis Hamilton as we ran a little bit wide there. The top two starting to pull away. We just don't seem to have the pace this weekend in Qatar. We're just too good at the starts, really. We're just about staying in touch though with Lewis Hamilton. Whether we can have another go here, we are getting closer and closer. We're going to go for it to the outside, try and go all the way around the outside. The outside line at turn 1 is so OP. Lewis Hamilton defenceless, but he's going to have another go one lap later, and he's got us before we even get to turn 1. It is a drag race though. Lewis Hamilton just ahead We're going to try and keep it pinned around the outside. Can we get the job done and stay ahead? We're still on the inside line. We're going to push him wide a little bit. And Perez has gone through. Lewis Hamilton so nearly got us. But we keep him behind. Just about. This is Pierre Gasly. Oh no. It's happened again for him. Pierre Gasly's pulling off. It's a double DNF weekend for Pierre Gasly. Retires in the sprint and he retires in the race itself. Now we come under pressure from Sergio Perez. Perez has got us into turn 1 and I don't think there's a lot we can really do about that. We thought about having a look to the inside. The top two have gone. Leclerc has got the lead of the Grand Prix. He's overtaken Oscar Piastri. Now we get closer to the back of Perez. He moves very late there, but we're up the inside of him and Perez keeps it pinned around the outside and keeps us behind. Not really a lot we could have done about that, but we're going to go to the inside of Perez 1 lap later, lap 10, and re-overtake the Red Bull and keep our nose just in front. But there is a very long train behind us now, as Lewis Hamilton has got a great one on Perez. He's nearly got alongside. He's had to back out because we were going so slow. Perez has got through again on us, and this time hasn't got the job done. We've gone through the marker board there, trying to look to the outside, but Perez has got the job done on us. And this time he did pull away, and we're 3 wide. We've been double teamed by Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris. Lando gets pushed wide by Lewis Hamilton. They're still side by side. We're looking for any kind of line to try and get at least one of them back, but Lando's through. So is Lewis Hamilton on lap 12 of the Grand Prix as we go late up the inside of Lewis Hamilton. But the job is done. Lando's disappeared and he's actually overtaken Sergio Perez there, but at the end of lap 12, going on to lap 13, we are going to make our one and only stop of the day. We're going on to the hard tyres. The softs really being used apart from quali this weekend. But now, could we potentially undercut the battle that have been holding up and re-overtake Hamilton and maybe Perez? Lando's probably gone a little too much up the road for us as we hit the marker board once again. We have something against marker boards today, clearly. But this has got to be a good outlap, otherwise it may turn very ugly for us. Getting these hard tyres up to temperature. 1 lap later at the end of the lap, into the pits comes Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris. Sergio Perez stays out, but most of them that we've been battling are in. Lando Norris just ahead of the Ferrari, and it's going to be a bit of a battle here. Who gets out in front? It's slow for Ferrari, and George Russell has got ahead of his former teammate Lewis Hamilton in the stops. It's a poor one for Ferrari, as now we round the final corner. We have a big slide there as we come flying down the pit straight. Where is everyone? They've all beaten us out. They're beating us out. We're going to come side by side out with Max Verstappen, but Lewis Hamilton's up the road. So is George Russell. We've lost multiple positions there. We've lost, what, 3? Maybe even 4 places as Max goes to the inside of us. And he is at the inside of us, but he's a little bit too far back there. But we were P4, we've dropped all the way down to P8 and now P9 as Max is through on us. And now Fernando Alonso is critical that we stay ahead of him for the championship going into the final race next time out in Abu Dhabi. Albon just outside the points behind them, but the pit stops is all unravelled for us. We were right at the front, towards the front, P4, P5, we've lost 3 places there. Now we're fighting for 2 points as there's contact with Fernando Alonso. We're 3 wide going into turn 1. Albon trying to go all the way around the outside. Now Fernando's driven off the track, look, and there's nearly contact as there's a bit of a shake and bake there. and we've got Albon ahead of Alonso. They're battling just up the road. We just don't have the paces. That's Sergio Perez having a big lock up there as we come flying down towards turn 1 as well. Albon has got us, and there's not really much point fighting that one. Albon clearly has the better pace this weekend, and plus our battle is with Fernando Alonso. This now for the final point of the day. Round the outside, we try and keep Alonso behind. We're going to have the inside line for turn 2, and we keep him behind. Lap 22, coming on to lap 23, we've had a big moment like we did, and Fernando Alonso is just gone straight through. Now we're going to struggle for some speed, but the battery and the DRS is with Alonso. As now we try and hold it round the outside. We're now going to have the inside line. Alonso's ran wide and opened the door for us to go walking straight back through and back up into P10. This might be the most critical point of the championship. As round the outside, Alonso nearly got us, but we keep him behind. Once again, Albon and all of that, like we were battling at the start of the race, have completely disappeared. Alonso once again, lap 26, he's running out of laps now to try and get us. We force him all the way round the outside. He has the inside line, does Alonso, and this time Fernando is ahead of us. Unless we can have a go at the inside, we're too far back to have a go into there. But the job's done for Fernando Alonso, but we've managed to stick with him, and down the inside into turn 1. Just a couple of laps to go now. We get the job done on Fernando Alonso. Now, going on to the final lap of the race. This is Fernando's last chance. We hold it round the outside of Fernando Alonso and keep him behind. And we've kept him behind now, and hopefully that may well be it. On to the final lap now, lap 29. Up the inside goes Fernando Alonso. We keep him behind once again. That may well be it for him. But Oscar Piastri, McLaren back on top after a little while. It's going to help McLaren out in the constructors. But Piastri wins in Qatar. Leclerc P2, Lando Norris P3. And now we're going to round the final corner for one single point, but a crucial point with Alonso behind us.
Oscar Piastri takes the win.
A great display of dominance today by this driver. They led from lights out to the flag at the end, led every lap of the race. Brilliant stuff by them, and excited to see what more they can do in future races.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure, and no doubt they'll be celebrating tonight.
That's been your Qatar Grand Prix then, won by Oscar Piastri. Good weekend for McLaren in terms of the constructors. Lando P3, Leclerc finishes P2, Albon no for us finishing in P8. It made sense to let him go, look at where he finished. Our battle for us, P10, just in front of Fernando Alonso. You could say it was a disappointing race compared to where we were in the opening stint. As long as we beat Alonso, that was all that mattered, and we did. And then Gasly was your only retirement of today. Double DNF weekend for him after he retired in the sprint race as well, and Logan Sargeant was the final finisher feature of the day. So we know for the Drivers' Championship it is all wrapped up. 70 points the gap now between Max and Lando. Our battle though, very interesting. There's 3 points between us and Fernando Alonso, so we can say we have a championship decider between us and Fernando Alonso. The aim from about mid-season was to beat him. We're 3 points behind him. It will all go down to one final race in Abu Dhabi between us to see if we can finish P8 in the drivers, and then there's still quite a few drivers still yet to score, and they only have one more chance of getting points on the board. McLaren have taken a big slice out of Red Bull, so the Constructors' Championship will be decided in the final race in Abu Dhabi as well. 12 points the gap, it was 33 coming into this weekend, and then we are ahead of Aston Martin. The gap now 10 points. We're looking strong for that P5 this season. But that's been your Qatar race weekend, the penultimate round of the season. Can we beat Fernando Alonso in Abu Dhabi, and can we beat Aston Martin in the Constructors? You have to come back and find out when we head to Abu Dhabi for the final race of the season. Goodbye.